This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Don't chew on that, Max.
Cooper loves that chew too.
Oh, now he's into Cooper's food. Wow, he is loving it. What do you feed Cooper?
Blue Buffalo Life Protection Formula. He never leaves a crumb. I love it because it's made with high-quality protein, nutrient-rich fruits and veggies, and wholesome whole grains.
Looks like we're switching to Blue.
Blue Buffalo foods are made with the superior ingredients your dog needs to thrive. Can your dog food say that? Visit feedbluefood.com to learn more.
What's going on, y'all? It's your host, Will Cooper, coming back for another Field Note Fridays mini episode presented to you by HuntStand and Work Sharp Tools, the knife sharpening company. Today, we're going to be bringing you some strutting reports from Alabama and Georgia from Mr. Cody Kelley himself, Small Town Hunting TV. If you want to check them out on Instagram, their handle's at Small Town Hunting TV. Check them out and all the cool things they're doing. But we get Cody on here today because they are fresh off of a Georgia-Alabama hunt to talk about what the birds are doing out there, Strut Report, seeing if some of these birds are broken out of their winter flocks yet and if things are into full effect. But Mr. Cody Kelley, thank you for hopping on the podcast with us today.
Man, it's good to be here. I'll say we won some and we lost a lot over the past 2 weeks.
Yep. I feel your pain, man. I feel it.
Yeah, we started in Georgia,
Okay.
and we were there for the opener, and we hunted there for 5 or 6 days, and we left there, and then we actually went from South Georgia to North Alabama, not too far from Huntsville, and we were there for 5 or 6 days. So we scratched some out, but man, they were funky a lot of days.
So tell me more about that, like with the birds in Georgia. I mean, I know the season just started, and you and I were talking about this a little bit before the podcast, but especially in my area, the north zone of Texas, it seems like the birds are still kind of in this winter flock pattern. Like, birds are just still in large groups. Is that kind of what you've been seeing in Georgia?
Definitely. And I'm gonna say this. I feel like it's very weather driven right now.
Yeah.
Opening day there was a storm before it, and the next day it was opening day, and pretty sunshine, 65 degrees, and we had 2 different birds work perfect. Keith Burgess shot one, and then I shot one about 11:30 that day, and then the next day it was back to rain. They didn't do much. Next day was cloudy but not raining, and then you get a sunshine day, and it seems like towards the end of that sunny day, the afternoon, they'd start gobbling. And, I felt like we could never put a couple good sunny days together. But, yes, it was, there would be 4 long bears together, and they're running with 5 jakes and 2 hens, and, they'd get fired up and then lose interest. It was, I guess the best way to term it, I would say it's still, I feel like it's been on the early side. I felt like when we were leaving Georgia, it was just getting right. I felt like when we left Alabama, it was getting better every day.
See, and that's kind of what it is out here. It's weird. And last week we were out in the field in the north zone here in Texas, and we had one of those just dog hot days. It was 95. We're like, oh man, these birds aren't going to be talking at all. They were already kind of lip locked as it was as soon as they hit the ground. But man, it seems like those hotter days kind of gets those birds fired up even more. Hearing you talk about them being weather driven, is that kind of what you think as well, or?
For sure. It was, I say this, I shot my second bird in Alabama 2 days ago, and it was rainy, and he went ahead and gobbled, and we called him up, and he strutted, gobbled, did the thing, and it was drizzling rain. But the key was we had gotten a day and a half before that where it was sunny and things were getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
And, so that's what we kept telling ourselves. It may be just we can't hunt, Will. It might be we might just not be as good as we think we are. But it seemed like if you could just get those 2 warm sunny days, that it wouldn't they would go ahead and do it. But we got that one time in 12 days. It was a 12-day trip, and we had 2 days back to back where it was pretty and sunny, and you could definitely tell a difference. They started acting right. You could strike birds all day, and that's when it's fun.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, I'm ready for those birds to start doing that around here. So let's talk about the birds y'all killed. You said it sounds like y'all killed a couple in Georgia as well as Alabama. Talk to us about, what your setup was like, decoys or no decoys, aggressive calling, or were you trying to make them think that the hen was walking away? Like, what did y'all do when y'all killed these birds?
I will say, on every one of them, it seemed like we were using every trick that we ever learned. We had decoys were hit and miss. There was a lot of jakes, and that's Mississippi. We hunted Mississippi opener down here, and same deal. A lot of jakes in Georgia, and a lot of jakes in Alabama. And to be honest, decoys, because the jakes were running in groups of 4, 5, 7, and they were whipping a lot of longbeards. A lot of times you would set up, bird roosted off a field, and you them that night, you drop a pin on HuntStand, you go in there, sit down in the dark, and you put out your decoys. They pitch down, and then all of a sudden you didn't know there was 5 jakes in the back corner. The longbeard hits the ground. He shies from the decoys and runs from the jakes. So it got to be, we really ran a lot of no decoys until we kind of knew the situation.
Yeah.
And that seemed to really start working. Of course, we went decoys right out of the gate. Hey, we roosted a bird, let's put out decoys. We started seeing them, kind of shy down from them, I think, just because that pecking order is just constantly rolling over.
Yeah.
And so once we started going no decoys, of course, you still running the same thing. Bird gets 80 yards, don't see anything, and backs down. But it seemed to be, once we knew, hey, we roosted him, there was no other turkeys around, we think they're kind of, by themselves, then decoys worked great. Any time there was jakes around, it seemed like the decoys were irrelevant. They had already, the jakes were running longbeards around and had them a little, scared of other longbeards around, and they didn't work real well.
Yeah. Seeing that, we were kind of seeing that same thing out in Central Texas. It was, we'd have like 4 jakes hit the ground, and the longbeard would go the exact opposite way. So,
yep.
Sounds like
I had one set up. It was a big field up top, kind of rolled off into hardwood bottom, and we roosted the bird the night before. And we went in there and hunted the afternoon and didn't get on much. So we went up on a high ridge, sat down, and we heard turkeys start flying up down in the bottom. Longbeard gobbled on the limb. So pulled up HuntStand, marked it, and as absolute close as we thought we could get. And then we dropped a pin looking at the ridge. All right, we're going to try to get to this mark right here in the morning. So we went in super early and went and sat down. He's 65 yards from us. We gave him one little tree yelp, didn't say another word. We were on the open ridge. The bird pitched down, and he pitched on the side hill, and then we yelped to him. A hen pitched down right to him, and he went off with the hen. I could shoot him, but we couldn't film him. Joey was filming, and he's like, no, I can't see him. He was 38 yards from me.
Oh.
Right down the ridge strutting. So we kind of just let them ease off, and there was another bird gobbling deeper in there. So we made a big loop to get around, and they ended up, the bird that we hunted, he went out to the field, and then we started working him again. As soon as he started gobbling good, 5 jakes come running out. They come running down the hill, start running them around. They ran him clean over the hill. And then soon as they got out of sight, the birds started gobbling in the back of the field again. So anyway, I told Joe, I was like, man, every time we call and the longbeard gets fired up, here comes the jakes back. And so I was like, I'm going to yelp to him. If he gobbles, I'm not going to keep him gobbling. So I yelped to him. He answered. I yelped to him. He answered. And then we just sat there. I see him, and here he comes strutting, full strut. He's going to have to go down in a little roll and then come back up onto the ridge to be able to shoot him. So he gets over. He's just below the knob that I can see, and so we can't see him. And he starts gobbling on his own. He's wanting that hen to come to him. And I was like, crap, Joe, I'm going to have to yelp to him because he's got to stop gobbling, like, or the jakes are going to come. So I yelped to him, and he answered, and then I was like, all right, I'm shutting up. Well, about the time we saw his fan coming over, I start hearing, the jakes. They start, they're gobbling and talking. And here they come running wide open to him.
Yep.
And the Lord, they went down in the bottom, and he's like, well, I better get up top. So he come over the top and hit a quick strut, and I shot him.
Dadgum.
Yep, it was, man, those jakes, boy, they were all over those longbeards. As soon as you got one fired up, it was going to be a group of jakes every time.
Man. So what was your calling sequence like? I know you're telling me you're yelping at them, but are you doing some aggressive yelping, some soft, some clucking? Are you putting and purring? Like, what were you doing?
We had, I would say, we stayed pretty light early. Some tree yelps. We never tried to get super aggressive. And, you just purr, cluck, and then hit a couple yelp sequences, and it seemed to work good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once that 8 o'clock hit, we were experiencing a lot of really henned up. And as far as striking birds, if we weren't super aggressive and cutting, you would not get them to hammer.
Really?
They would not gobble. We would get super aggressive. Now, that was a double-edged sword, too, because you're sitting there, you're prospecting, walking around, and cut, yelp, and we're like, all right, we know where he's at. Well, about that time, you start hearing the hen. Well, she starts cutting, you cut at her, and then she takes them the other way.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, we had a great trip. We ended up, we shot 3 I shot 2 in Georgia, and Keith shot 1 in Georgia. And then I shot 2 in Alabama, and Keith shot 1 in Alabama. And then our camera guy, Joey, he shot 1 in Alabama.
Nice.
And it was a good trip, but it was, we hunted them daylight to dark, and it was a grind. It was trying to find that, a hot bird in the right spot.
So what advice would you give the listeners right now that are going to be heading out? Georgia, Alabama, birds are still kind of in that flock mode right now, not quite fired up yet. What advice are you going to give to the listeners?
I would say on the Georgia, Alabama, if I was going to give a report, going off of when we left, I think they're right on the verge of kicking it into wide open. There was a lot of breeding going on. I think you're going to start having those hens go to nest in the middle of the morning. And I think the mid-morning is going to be really, really good over the next 2 weeks in Alabama and Georgia. And I would put Mississippi in that same scenario. I think early you're going to be dealing with hens. And once those hens start going to nest, I think for the South, these next 2 weeks, I feel like are going to be really, really strong. And you're going to be able to, strike up a bird and do what everybody dreams of, and he's going to come running in and looking for a hen.
Heck yeah. Man, I love it, Cody. I know the listeners definitely appreciate the advice, words of wisdom. Hopefully they're going to be able to take that, go out, shoot them a big old tom, and post about it on social media, man. So can't thank you enough for hopping on today's episode of Field Note Fridays.
I appreciate it. We'll head to Texas after Easter, and maybe we can jump back on and give up an updated Texas report.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have to, man. Absolutely.